So let's have a look at the bits that we're going to be using to do this upgrade today. So I've got an MX5 ND with the standard brakes on it. I've got a 2-litre car. So I had a few options to go with calipers. So the OEM option, upgrade option, is the Brembo ones that I've got here. You then got the 4-pot wheelwoods and 6-pot wheelwoods. Yeah, you can get those from, in the UK, it's BBR that does the kits for them. Both use the standard size disc. They say the 4-pot is for their NA cars and the 6-pot is for the higher performance cars. Okay. One of the reasons I went for these was, there's sort of two main reasons. One is because they are fitted as an option by Mazda. So they're an OEM part. OEM parts, you know, you can get in the future repair parts you can get in the future, that type of thing. And maybe if you ever sell the car, you know, OEM parts, upgraded OEM parts are pretty good. They also, when you have a look, I'll show it here, there's a pad comparison. So there's the two main things for good braking is, obviously the piston sizing on all these calipers are going to be matched to your master cylinder. So there's not really going to be that much difference there. The difference is going to be pad size, so you know, the surface area of your pad, and then another one which we're not looking at here is obviously the size of your discs. And the bigger your disc, so if you got to a 330mm disc, then you've obviously got, again, you've got more surface area, you've got more cooling, you're not, you know, all that helps braking. So to me, the bigger the pad is better. So the biggest pad was on the OEM upgrade Brembos. So that's one of the reasons I went for them. This is the little diagram that someone else has done, so I can't take credit for that, but it just shows the different sizing, and it's actually, you know, there's quite a difference between them. So that's that. Then, so basically got these from MX5 Parts. They were on a slightly discounted price than they had been previously, and I also got a Owners Club 10% off as well. So they're not cheap, but it brought them down a bit. So really nice bit of kit from Brembo. What I've done, because obviously these are brand new, what I've done is I've got one of this is wheel armor, which I've used on my wheels recently. I'm guessing it's like a ceramic coating. I've gone over them, covered them all, just to try and protect them from brake dust and things, and hopefully they'll be able to clean up better in the future. So it's just a little preventative maintenance. Let's have a look at brake hoses. So also got this from MX5 Parts. So this is a Hell stainless kit. I believe this has been released recently and made up. So this is a front and rear kit, all stainless braided. So that'd be really good. I've then got, so the fitting kit for these. So basically you need 4 pins and a clip. Crazy price in the UK, about £150. Wasn't going to pay that. I thought that was insane. So I've used Rock Auto in the US before, and someone else mentioned it in a forum, and I thought, oh, I'll check them out. So you go onto Rock Auto and they got loads of pads. So I was looking for the fitting kit to start with, and you can get that separately, but then started looking at the pads, and they had budget, premium, street performance, and then I think another one. So I was looking through, and I'm not tracking my car. I'm not doing that. I am basically fast street driving, and I go to, a lot of time I go with MX5 to Europe, and we do a lot of mountain driving, and it can be pretty spirited. And I remember last year there was a load of us got to the bottom of the hill, and all you could smell was the brake dust and brake smell. It was really pungent. So it's just something I want to be mindful of, get a good pad. So that's fine. So then I looked on these and I came across these, which are street performance pad. They're a low dust carbon fiber ceramic pad. I looked at some reviews, they seemed pretty good. So it gives you all a braking procedure of how you brake in brake pads. It came with that fitting kit. It's crazy that would be so much money in this country. So you got your fitting kit, and you got your 4 pads, you got stainless backing plates. So all of that from America, including import, which you prepay on the website, delivered by FedEx within a week, £55 for the fitting kit and pads. That's awesome to me. So yeah, really pleased with those. I'll give those a try. Rear, one of the things I don't have here is a pot of red Brembo paint. So I bought a pot of paint because on the standard kit, I've got standard brakes on the back, but on the standard kit, they paint the rear caliper. I wouldn't normally paint standard calipers because it's not a performance item, but because I've got the Brembos, going to have the Brembos on the front, I want to paint up the bit to make it like the OEM kit does at the back. So I'm going to do that, match it up. The only other thing we need to talk about is brake discs. So I will be running the standard 280mm brake disc because like I'm not tracking the car, not doing anything crazy. You obviously, and the BBR kits come made for standard disc sizes as well. Obviously, if you want bigger discs, you can do that with both these and Wheelwoods. So you can get a bigger brake disc kit to run the Brembos. So I'm sure they just come with some brackets to extend them out a little bit. And you can buy the disc with the separate bell and the brake disc and everything. So you can do that with this setup. But obviously it's a lot of extra cost. I don't think I need that. One of the things to bear in mind, and I didn't know this until some research recently, is that the 2-litre ND and the cars fitted with the Brembo, I thought they had the same front brake discs. They don't. I'm going to put up some specs here. So basically, I did some research, and they're both 280mm wide diameter, and 98% of the other specs are exactly the same. The difference is that there's a higher carbon content in the brake disc fitted standard as with Brembo, and they have a different vane set up in the middle of the disc. That being said, looking at, I've put a picture up. On the left-hand side is the higher content Brembo special disc, and on the right-hand side is a standard Brembo disc. You look at all the measurements, 98% are the same. The only one I can see that's different is the bell size in the middle, where the one on the left is 139mm, and the one on the right I think is 136. That, as far as I can see, doesn't affect anything. It's not a knock-on to push anything out of alignment. All the offsets and everything are the same. So, and you can also see there that it says on the left-hand side, it says material of each, and it does have a different spec material. So it's a different spec material, and it has different vanes. All the other sizes are the same. If you buy Wheelwoods from BBR or other people, they use a standard disc. They don't talk about using a special disc. If you order from like M-Tech or anyone else, they only list one 280mm front disc. So they're a lot more money for the higher content discs. So obviously you can purchase those. I'm sure they have them. They're a little bit lighter. I'm sure they have a brake enhancement of tiny percentage or whatever, but basically on mine I'm not going to be changing the disc because I've just replaced my front brakes with standard 2-litre Brembo discs and pads. They've done about 200 miles. It's only literally just bedded in, so it's going to be fine. I'm not going to throw away some discs, so I'm going to use my standard discs, but you have the choice, I believe, and we'll show it, is you can have a standard disc or you could pay out for the nearly twice the price special metal discs. You've got the references there in the picture, take your choice. So yeah, we're pretty much there. So the next thing it's going to do is actually starting to put it all onto the car. So let's get onto that. Just started to jack up the car. Just want to show you a quick look. Obviously those are the standard brakes, just sliding piston type, nothing dramatic. And then later we'll get to compare how good it looks with the new ones, hopefully. So I've just used a turkey baster to suck out as much old brake fluid as I can, because I'm going to do a brake fluid flush at the same time as doing all the 4 lines. So got out as much as possible, so I've done that. This is an English car that's been used, so it looks a bit crusty. So I'm going to put some penetrating fluid on the joints that we're going to have to try and undo. Right, so I've got new hoses, so I wouldn't normally do this, but obviously to try and stop as much just leaking out as possible, I'm clamping off that hose. It's while the caliper's still attached, you can get good leverage. I'm going to get onto the nut for this line to undo it, rather than having this off and struggling to do it. So I'm going to do that next. So the nut for the bolt for the hose is a 12mm. Came off pretty freely, to be honest. There's going to be spillage of things, so maybe get a tray. That bolt, you won't be reusing that because you've got new ones in the kit. Then next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this caliper off. So it's these top bolts. I believe, from memory, they're not a 14, 15. They're a 14. So like I said, these cars have been sitting on the drive, that's why they look a bit rusty, but these brake discs, they're brand new, the pads are brand new. So There's your old one, a bit crusty. Yeah, basically brand new pads. It's a shame to get rid of them. Right, so now we've got the carrier. That's most probably a 17. Yep. This can come off. And then what I was looking at is these back plates. They're not very expensive, but these are fundamentally in good shape. So I think, annoyingly, I'm going to have to try and refurb them because they look a bit rough. So that means that the hub needs to come off. So that means you need to get the ABS sensor out the back and then get a hub puller. Obviously you don't have to do this bit if yours are in good state, or if you want to buy some new ones. I recommend, if you buy some new ones, even though they come painted up black, it's really bad, so I would scorch them up and then put some more layers of paint on. If you want to follow along, it's 3 17mm on the back of the hub. They're tight. That probably indicates how tight the hub's going to be. Quite long bolts because they come all the way through. So now we've got a slide hammer on it, so fixed on here, and obviously you're sliding it to bang this whole hub out of here. Can be noisy. And there it is, come out. Just left the ABS bit in there. Oh my god. Just shows how crusty they are to get in. I have to try and tap that out. So I've been able to get that plastic bit back on. That's absolutely fine. Lined it up with the top hole, which is where it was. So now I'm just going to clean up because this is pretty grim. I'm just going to get my wire brush and get in here on this lip because this is where it sticks. So it's quite thick, so sometimes it can be good to go around with a screwdriver because it's all located on these holes. Now I'm going to try and get this line off. Let's see what sizing this is. That looks like a 12. All my spanners have gone everywhere. Let's have a look. It is. There we are. So now we've got obviously the hard line coming into here. So we'll undo that first, and then this bolt should release this whole section. This is a 10mm, but on brake lines it is better to have a proper brake line tool because it goes on more flats and is less likely to round off. We shall see. It moved. Once it's turned, you can probably use a normal spanner. Wanting to turn the whole line, that's not good. I'm probably going to have to repaint up this whole bracket as well. It's not the way it should work, but we'll try and free that up afterwards, but there we go. Just a normal crusty Mazda bracket. So I've cleaned the hub up a little bit, obviously on the inside. I'm also going to put some copperies on this lip, or you can put it on the actual bearing. I've cleaned that face up as well. Just put some copperies around there. Helps next time you might want to get that out for bearing replacement. So put the 3 bolts in. I've painted up my my guard. slide that on. There we go, looks a bit neater. So these bolts go up pretty tight. They're up to 91 to 100 pound-foot. So it's going to be interesting to get the torque wrench in there. Right, so bearing goes vertically. So now I'm going to do it to 90 to 100. I'm going to move the camera. So I've got the back plate on. I've got the three bolts down up to the right torque. So the disc is going to go on. Looks a bit better against the refurbished back plate, doesn't it? Right, it's time to get your two bolts and mock up the caliper. Right, I've got no clearance issues with the disc, which you shouldn't have because it's the same size as that upper market Brembo disc. These are Brembo discs, they're just the standard ones. No clearance issues here. So next we're going to have a look at this brake piping. So I've re-sprayed the bracket. Got to be a little bit delicate because it's not very dry. So that is a 12mm, I think I remember. Actually, I'm going to put a bit of copperies on the bolt. You know what Mazdas are like. Bolts don't like to come out. And then you've got the little clip that goes in the other end. Let's just clip that on so it's there. There we go, looks a bit better than it did before. So then we've got brake hoses. I haven't looked at the brake hoses, so they look like your rear ones, the shorter ones, and then the longer ones look like the front. So let's see if they're the same. No, the banjos are offset in different directions, so be mindful of that. And so we've got some brackets. I'm guessing they are these ones to replace what's connected to the old brake hose. You've got a bag of bits. You've got some clips, P-clips, which are going to be here, up here. You've got banjo bolts, and you've got washers and a couple of nuts. Okay, let's work that out. I haven't shown much of the Hell brake line kit so far because it's been fighting me. It's not. These kits are never very good. They say they're made for a specific car, but it's very generic. So straight away you have to use a P-clip up here. This isn't all done up finally, but a P-clip up here. The holes in the middle of the P-clip are not the right bolt size, so you then have to drill out P-clips, and P-clips are so thin that they always go all over the place, so that's a pain in the ass. This clip doesn't go on like the standard one. Basically you're bolting, trapping this between there, using that bolt hole, but it doesn't go in as far. I don't know if you can really see that. I've got no light, unfortunately. So I'm just about to put that into the top there, and then the lines are not marked left or right, and they are different. So this bit down here is different, so you have to work out which one you need to go in here, and it's like pulling it into this clip, which is a pain in the bum. So yeah, it's been a bit of a nightmare. So with the caliper on, need to do up the 14mm bolts here. They're 79 to 101 Newton meters. So I've set mine to 90, right in the middle. Just about to do that one up. Tight. That's the caliper all secure. So what I want to do now is I'm going to attach the hose that we've been prepping. Take the little bung out. Just going to get the bits for that. So you've got your banjo, get your banjo bolt. You've got two copper washers. They go either side, so put one on. Put your banjo bolt into your banjo. The other washer there. And then get your head in the wheel well and get that started. Like I said, unfortunately on these hoses they don't seem to have the pin, the extra pin that locates it. So it literally is just the force of doing it up that's stopping it from swiveling. Not my favourite situation. So the torque settings for these is 21 to 29 Newton meters. I've set mine to 25. Just hold it from rotating while you're doing it. There we go. There you go. So there's your hoses in. So the next thing we're going to do is the brake pads and pins. So let's crack on with that. Right, so got my new pads. These have got stainless steel backing plates on. They're stuck to them. So it came with some grease. Put some grease on the back of the pad where the piston is going to go. So there. Didn't give you very much grease. Let's do the other one. I'm going to put some tiny bit of copperies on the sliding face at the bottom. Don't get it on the pad. That's it. So, there isn't a way round. Well, there's obviously material to the disc, but other than that, they just slide on in. Get them roughly lined up with the pin lines. Like that. And then what you've got is you've got fitting kit. So you get 2 pins and this to go between the two, can't think. And it's got little spring type metal bits on the end which need to be pushed firmly into place to lock it in so the pins don't come out. So what I would do is I would get your bottom pin in first, slide that through, making sure it goes through the pads located in there. You may feel like that's in, but it's not, because it will just come out. So get yourself a punch. Basically you've got to tap it in until you see it this end. Right, it isn't delicate, but now you can see the end and it's locked in. So put the clip on, get your pin, slide that in, and then that clip is lined up in the middle there, and then you've got to tap in the other pin. So they're flush on the outside. So there's your pads in, your lines in. So the only thing left to do is bleed the system. And you'll notice you have 2 bleed nipples. So when you're bleeding this, you need to bleed the inside first. So bleed the inside first and then the outside. But obviously we're doing the whole lot. So the normal rule of thumb is the furthest away from the reservoir. So the rear opposite, and then the other rear, and then my reservoir's on the other side. So it would be this caliper, and then the caliper closest to the reservoir, but you do this first and then the outer. So looking at the rear end, we're not upgrading anything here. Everything the same on the Brembo model as the standard one. The only difference is this center section of the caliper is red. I also need to change, sorry, we are upgrading something. We've got to upgrade the hose. So the hose needs to come off, so I need to drain that out, take the caliper off, disconnect the handbrake, and get all that going. So let's have a look, see what we need to do here. So that's probably a 12. Yep. That's fine. Okay, so are these a 14? I would have thought they are. No. They're a 12, okay. Might be best to actually get rid of the handbrake while it's still on there. So should see this spring here, should be able to, I can't remember if you release the spring. I think you release the spring. So I've got a pair of pliers releasing the spring off the back there. So that's loose. So to get this rear bit off, take that clip out. So literally pull that clip out, push this circle part back, and that pulls out, you can then unclip the top. But then just got to get these 2 caliper bolts out. Can leave that all in at the moment, so I'm literally just looking to work on this part. Got to clean it up and make it all prepped ready for painting. I have a feeling these rear lines are going to be just as hard as the fronts to undo. They look pretty crusty. I've put some penetrating spray on them. Hopefully they're going to turn. After that, it's literally just pulling this clip out, but I'm leaving it in at the moment because I want it to be in place when I try and turn it, because it should be held. After you take it off, it's going to be a bit awkward to handle. So fingers crossed, after a little while, that will actually come undone. Once you've unscrewed the brake line, just get a pair of calipers on this slider, pull it out, and then hopefully, with a little bit of wiggling and tapping, that will go through this and will come out. So again, annoyingly, our new brake lines do not have that pin at the end, the locating pin. It's a shame. So hell, just give you some kind of generic ends. They haven't really put any effort into the kit. Hey ho. So you slide that one up there. I've cleaned up my shim, sliding locating shim. That goes in the groove. And what locks this in is that being done up. But basically, again, the way they position it anyway. So this line is going to be coming up to the caliper a bit like that. And then obviously you're going to put your banjo bolt in with your 2 washers. So that's fine. What I'm going to do here is just clean this, bend this out of the way and just clean this up a little bit before I put it in. So I won't do that up just yet because I don't want to nip this up. I want to get that in with the caliper. So I've taken off the rear caliper, cleaned it all up with a wire brush. This now has some etch primer, spray etch primer on it, so I've just given it a good light coat of that. I've then got some Brembo red caliper paint. They say you can go straight onto the caliper, but then I read other things that an etch primer base for a big area is better. So I've just bought myself some, off Amazon, some 1/2-inch brushes. I'm going to take my time and paint up the rear calipers to match the front. So I've taken this time to clean up the brackets and repaint them. Originally they were silver on the Brembo fitted ones with the red bit in the middle, but I've gone red all round because the outside looked crusty. I've taken this opportunity to replace the sliders, and I've put a rebuild kit in the caliper as well. So let's get the bracket on, which is obviously just 2 bolts behind. So the torque wrench setting for these, the middle is 55 Newton meters, and then just nip those up. So that's your bracket on. Obviously these discs are horrible. They're the ones that came with the car, and I need to get a little bit more use out of them, so I'm going to. So got the pad. Oh, we need to put the little clips in, so I've cleaned up the clips. If you're putting new pads in, you'll get new clips. Where's everyone gone? Here. I put copperies on them. I've always, where the pad runs, I've always done this, never had any issues. And then put those back in their seats. On the inside, put some copperies where the piston goes. I also put a bit on the bottoms, tops. Slide those back in. Okay, that's one. And the other one is going to be the 2 fingers. So I'll put a bit on where the 2 fingers go. And then top, bottom. Okay. So this is my painted up caliper. It's not perfect, but it's not too bad either. I really didn't enjoy doing it. So it's got new piston and seals in, new bleed nipple. I didn't rebuild this section because I didn't have the right pliers, needle nose pliers to get one of the clips out, so I've left that. It's all in working condition. It was surprising, one of the pistons was actually pitted on the bore, so that's 6 years of use and it was pitted on the bore, so I'm glad I did it in the end. Another thing, the bolts that came with these sliders were actually a little bit too short. Once you put them through here, there wasn't enough meat on them, so I'm using the old ones. Put a little bit of screw lock on these ones. So those calipers, the pistons all pulled back, so it goes straight up. Those go in. Let's grab the other one. Let's get those done up. Just had a 17mm to hold these inner parts. Just knit them for now, because you're going to have to torque them. Right, these are, I think 22 to 29, so I'm doing them 25 Newton meters. So yeah, you need to hold them. There we go. It can be a little bit awkward with space. There we go. That's the caliper all on. Well, caliper's on. I need to sort out this rear part. So we've got the spring we need to put back in. So the smaller end goes at the bottom, hooks around the little bottom bit. Then grab a pair of pliers around the top bit. There we go. This just slides in from behind, and then you need to pull. There you go, brute force and ignorance. So that's all set up now. So we've got to do the hose. This isn't done up either. Oh, one thing, got to put your retaining clip in here. That slides in there to retain that. Then get your last remaining banjo bolt to line up with your thread. Get it started before you let some pressure on it. There we go. I've been doing these to 25 Newton meters. So just hold your brake line where you want it to stay. Just ease up into this. Finally, right. So that's the brake line there done. I need to do up this bit, which I need my special spanner. Right, obviously when I bleed it, I'll check for any leaks or anything like that. But that is basically the rear caliper sorted out other than bleeding. Just clean that off a little bit, yeah. Keep it nice for like a day. So that's the rear's done. I won't show you the bleeding process because you can learn that anywhere. This is all about getting the front Brembos on and then getting some matching brake calipers on the back. It's not, when you're wanting to paint like the rear hubs, the rear calipers and stuff, that can be a bit tricky and stuff, so getting all that done nicely. But if you're just putting these on, it really is the hoses. They're probably the worst bit because they're not, the kit's not great. And then putting these on is literally 2 bolts and a fitting kit. Just make sure that your wheels will fit. Mine need a spacer. I believe certain other wheels need a spacer as well, so just check into that. But they look great, and I'm sure they're going to perform really well.